All right, it's another film study by the numbers. Dan, Ken, how are you doing?
Life's good, Josh. How about you?
It's all good down here. Made it through that Eta, whatever I think it was tropical storm Eta when it hit me today. So it made things a little wet all day, but not a bad day. So, Dan, how are things on the other coast?
Doing great out here in California. Nice weather, no rain.
All right, that's good to hear. Quick show, so we're going to jump right into it. We'll start with my number for the day is minus 200, which are the odds you can get right now on the money line on my bookie if you want to take Mike Tyson over Roy Jones Jr. at the end of the month. That's just to show you that you can bet on boxing, you can bet on the Masters, you can bet on the football this weekend, all types of stuff over at my bookie. Game spreads, championship futures, player prop bets. It's never too late to get into the action and start turning your sports knowledge into actual cash in your wallet. You can even go in there and bet while the game is going on. So like tonight's the Colts-Titans game, and the line shifts as the game goes on, but you can bet all the way up until the fourth quarter.
It's called dealing an in-game line, and you can only bet at commercial time usually.
Okay, I didn't know about the time limit, but yeah, that makes sense. All right, but anyway, when you go over there, you got to use the code RAVENS. Sign up at MyBookie, and when you do, use the promo code RAVENS to claim a deposit match, dollar for dollar, all the way up to $1,000. So really, my number should have been $1,000 because you can get $1,000 free dollars if that's what you want to spend over on MyBookie. All right, guys, let's get into the real numbers for the Ravens this week.
Right, sounds good. All right. First number is 20.7%. That's the percentage of run plays that resulted in negative yards in week 9. So unfortunately, starting off with a negative number this week. So 7 out of 34 runs were for negative yardage for the Ravens. The worst result as a percentage in 2020 or 2019 for the Ravens. 13th worst in all of 2020 across all the NFL. Just for reference, the average across the NFL so far in 2020 is 8.9%. So the Ravens were at 20.7%. Indianapolis is an extremely tough run defense with extremely fast linebackers, so it was a really tough challenge.
Yeah, when I scored the offensive line, 4 of those 7 plays, and actually there were some of the runs for loss. One of them might have been Jackson too, but 4 of them were charged to the offensive line, which is very bad for one game. And by comparison, they only allowed 2 pressures the whole game, no quarterback hits, and 1/3 of a sack. So it was really a run blocking problem that the Ravens had in this game. I'll move on to the next one. 32-4. That's the snap differential for the Ravens, number of snaps for the Ravens and Colts, respectively, in the first 18 minutes and 46 seconds of the second half. The Ravens piled up 15-0 edge in first downs during that period, but they only had 4 first downs the entire rest of the game. So it was really concentrated efficiency of their offense. A lot of play action, a lot of first read plays. I think they did a great job of being fearless in the passing game on first down. I'm really hoping the Ravens can capture what worked during the stretch and have that as an alternative on offense. And, I don't want them to go always at this fast tempo pace, but I want to have it available as a choice to do fast tempo. A game where I can remember this happening before was Flacco actually at New England during the AFC Championship game in 2012. They were down at the half. I think it was 13-7, and they had to do something different. They came out in the shotgun. New England had no answer for it. Flacco passed them right down the field, and they won the second half 21-0. So this is a good start for the Ravens offense, and hopefully this will put aside some of the public complaints about the play calling we've been hearing.
Yeah, it's definitely always nice to have multiple tricks in your bag just in case something isn't working. So the offense looked really sharp in the second half. That leads me to my second set of numbers, 2.08 and 5.9. That's the air yards by half in week 9 for the Ravens. So just over 2 yards in the air on passes in the first half versus nearly 6 yards in the air in the second half. As you mentioned, a lot of play action, RPO type plays in the second half, getting the ball just behind the linebackers a little bit deeper down the field. Lamar still had quick reads and got the ball out quickly, but with more depth than than what was happening in the first half, and it was a lot more successful.
Okay, and I'm sorry. That is the completed air yards as opposed to the intended air yards, right?
No, I believe that's the intended air yards.
Wow, that is very, very, very short because
Yeah,
intended air yards is usually longer than completed air yards. And I think Lamar for the game, he wasn't that much ahead of Rivers. Rivers was at 2.4, which was worse than the entire NFL this week. And I thought Lamar was 3.9 maybe for the game,
yeah,
which would
3.9. Be
kind of
right
make
in
sense with
between,
this.
yeah.
Okay, well, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
real
I'm glad
short,
they got.
lots of screens, lots of things like that. A lot of short passes in the beginning.
Yeah, good to see them. Good to see them find that rhythm in the second half. All right, I'll go on. 31.2%. That's the percentage of Ravens dropbacks which have used play action this year. Fifth highest in the NFL behind the Rams, Patriots, Titans, and Bills. This kind of surprised me in a way because I feel like the Ravens have not made great use of play action, in particular those two-handed, just hand fakes that were made by Lamar out of the pistol. And I had this conversation with somebody online today, but a lot of Ravens didn't run true RPO last year very often. Only about 3 times the entire season. Twice in the Miami game, once in the Pittsburgh game, where they put the ball in the mesh, then pulled it out to make a throw. Most of what they did was out of the pistol, hand check to a running back, but it's not it wasn't a big time fake. I put it in a category of other front facing fakes because it means Lamar did not turn his back to the field, and then they made a throw out of that. Very successful doing it, never really had to change, never forced to go back to the mesh. And part of that sidecar formation we're seeing this year, more than the pistol, it has an element of RPO to it where Lamar can keep his eyes on the field, still go to the mesh, pull it out and throw. They haven't done it a lot. Might be still less than 10 times the whole year, but we have seen it. And when I notice it, it really stands out because we saw it so little last year.
Yeah, definitely. Play action is pretty key for the offense, and based on its success in the second half, I'd like to see some more of it. Get those linebackers moving. Right. As you mentioned, my next number, 7 and 2.4. That's the intended air yards versus.
Before we get started, if growing an e-commerce business is your focus, you'll need a platform that's focused on growth. That's where Klaviyo comes in. Klaviyo is the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for online brands of all kinds and all sizes. Whether you're just getting started or running a well-known brand, it gives you everything you need to send memorable, branded emails, text messages, and more so you can build strong relationships that keep your customers coming back. With flexible automations, powerful insights, and super precise targeting, Klaviyo is a faster way to turn great ideas into great customer experiences. That's why it's trusted by more than 40,000 brands like Living Proof, Huckberry, and 8 Sleep. In fact, on average, Klaviyo customers see a 41% increase in overall revenue within 5 months. Klaviyo scales with you, so you never have to switch. They support everything from garage startups to iconic billion-dollar brands. Want to learn more about how you can grow your brand with Klaviyo? Visit klaviyo.com/grow to get started with a free trial today. That's klaviyo.com/grow.
The completed air yards for Phillip Rivers. So, as you mentioned, Phillip Rivers 2.4 was the lowest completed air yards in the NFL for Week 9. It's actually tied for 4th lowest completed air yards for a game in all of the 2020 season.
Wow.
It's the highest differential in intended air yards versus completed air yards in Week 9 as well. And just for a reference, Rivers has been throwing it short. His completed air yards for the season was 5.2, but it was 2.4 for this game. That's extremely low.
It's remarkably low, and it really shows up on the charts from Next Gen. So it looks like you're looking at the tables, and those are great. If you look at the charts, Rivers had 14 passes completed behind the line of scrimmage. So those are contributing negative numbers to those intended and completed air yards numbers. But he completed 14 of 15 there. But when you go beyond 20 yards, he only completed 1 of 5 and had the one big interception. So it was a very much a barbelled performance. The Ravens did a great job, I thought, of keeping him in the cage in this game. All right, I'll move on. 36.5%. That's the blitz rate. That's 5+ rushing, not the blitzes from off the line of scrimmage that I normally talk off. But They're down now to 4th in the league behind Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, and Arizona in terms of blitz rate. The Ravens are. They've had the last 2 weeks, they have been close to their season low at 31%, which effectively tied it, and 24%, which was the lowest to date. So really not blitzing as much against two quarterbacks who got rid of the ball very quickly. Got Cam Newton coming up. This should be fun. I think the Ravens are going to be hunting again with a quarterback who takes a lot longer to deliver the ball.
It's been really interesting to see how quarterback and team dependent the blitz rate has been. It's very cool to see Wink change so drastically his game plan. Excited for this week's game. All right, that leads me to my fourth number, 0.192. It's the turnovers per drive by the New England defense. It's the highest in 2020 for any defense. 14 out of 73 drives have resulted in a turnover, 10 interceptions and 4 fumbles. That's the highest number of interceptions. Ravens are tied in 8th with also its 14, but they have 89 drives, so decreases the percentage. New England's defense has struggled. Their offense hasn't been great either, so really, to me, the only way that I think this game is going to remain close is if the Ravens turn over the ball. So we really need to minimize any turnovers and avoid keeping this game close.
Completely agree. You really want to wear out that defense by doing exactly that. And they really do not have the size to match up against the Ravens on the defensive line or in the linebacker core. And that's been made clear on some of the Know Your Foe stuff. You might want to check out Mark Schofield on the podcast from yesterday. I'm going to stick with the Patriots for another number, 39.9. That's Cam Newton's passer rating when under pressure this year. Now, let's just be clear about that. If you just threw an incomplete pass every single time, you'd have a passer rating of 39.2. So 39.9, not too good. Anyway, the Patriots have a very good offensive line. I think the Ravens are going to have to use more scheme than they've used in the last 2 games. By the way, I don't know if you've caught on this, Dan, but Michael Oweno, who I really wanted in this draft, went at number 182 to the Patriots when the Ravens got Bredesen, also from Michigan, at number 143. Not only is he playing great, but they've also moved him to right tackle, and he seems to be great there. So it's very frustrating, obviously, that another one got away.
Yeah, I might have heard that a couple of times on Know Your Foe. So, all right. Moving to the last number, it's kind of a bigger picture season so far at the halfway point. 38% and 53%. That's the success rate on second and medium for 2020 versus 2019. What I'm calling medium is between 5 and 10 yards to go. A success is defined by an increase in EPA. So in 2019, they had the successful play on second and medium 53% of the time versus this year 38% of the time.
Huge difference.
Yeah. Number of components may be coming into that. Increase in pass percentage about by 10% this year. But the big thing, completion percentage has dropped from 72% to 47% on these type of plays. So really struggling on the pass plays in this yardage. It's really a lot of things going on.
That probably explains 100% of it right there, the 72 to 47 drop. 72 to 47 or 78 to 47, did you say?
72 to 47.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a 25-point difference and a 15-point difference overall, and maybe you figure they were passing 60% of the time there. That might be the problem. Now, Dan has a great presentation that's still out there in our video category that will take you through the Ravens' success after running on first down in 2019. Fits in very nice with this topic exactly. Worth going there. But the Ravens, on runs that gained less than 10 yards last year, this is one I remember, they averaged 3.3 yards per play. They had a bunch of runs that were over 10 yards, but the ones that averaged under 10 yards, 3.3 yards per play. And even after doing that, they were still the most successful team in terms of converting their series last year. And a lot of that was due to second down success, run or pass. So I think that's really a presentation worth reading if you want to know why the Ravens last year broke all the rules in terms of running the ball on first down. All right, I got one more here, a big picture item, 22.25. That is the average DVOA rank of the Ravens' remaining opponents this season. So let's take a look at them for a moment. They play the fourth highest DVOA team, Pittsburgh. They play the number 12 team, Tennessee, who, by the way, didn't look like the number 12 team tonight, I don't think, in there getting steamrolled by the Colts the way they did. Although the Colts are fairly good. But then the remaining 6 games are against number 23, 25, 26, 27, 30, and 31. The schedule is there for the Ravens still to make a great run at this and potentially, I think, still win the division, but certainly set themselves up for a decent seed among the wild cards if that does not happen.
Yeah, at least get themselves some momentum going into the playoffs. You know, that can be key. Get hot and get rolling right before the playoffs. So that's a nice stretch of opponents for sure.
Dan, always a pleasure to do this show with you, and we'll talk to you next time on Film Study.